All right, so let's talk about that. What happened then after he got the paperwork?
After he got the paperwork, I went with my friends because I had to go back to work that day, and they gave me a ride back into work. I got a phone call from my mom later that day at work. She called my workplace and told me that Dustin had received money from his family and he was planning on taking the older two boys and leaving the baby, and he was going to flee the state with my two kids. I
All
told
right,
her,
1 second. So who's got children in the background?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, so that's not feasible for the court record.
I will
So,
step out. I will step
um,
outside, Your Honor.
all right, man, and you're getting me a little bit confused with the timeline, Ms. Campbell, so I'm going to have to go through this with you a little bit better. So it looks like he was served paperwork, according to the file, by a Kate Malenfant.
yep, that would be my friend Kate.
So he was served on September 27th.
Yes.
But you filed it looks like an ex parte motion. Well, I guess you filed it that same day. It was dated earlier.
Yep. So I had received the paperwork and then it took me a couple days to fill out because I needed some help. I didn't want to fill it out wrong. And then I submitted the paperwork. It was notarized, and then Kate had served Dustin.
So on that date, you two were still residing together at the start of that day?
Yep. So my mother's house was my legal place of residence. I was working multiple different positions at Applebee's
All
here
right,
in
hold on, ma'am. Ma'am, my question was a yes/no question. So on the date, on the 27th, at that time, the two of you were still, the start of that morning, were still living at that Airport Road address?
Yes.
Okay. So then he gets served the paperwork.
Yes.
Did he then stop residing at the Airport Road address?
He left that night or the next morning.
And did you continue to reside at that address, or did you move out also?
After he left, I could not stay there anymore. I packed up my belongings and I moved in with my coworker. The living arrangements with my children that I had agreed on before. It's just my children aren't here with me. They're with Dustin.
Okay. And then, so your understanding is he left then for Washington right after that?
Yes.
Okay. And have you had any parenting time with the children since he left?
No, I haven't seen them. I barely get phone calls. I get phone calls maybe once or twice a week, and that's for 10 minutes at a time.
Did he ever tell you in advance that he was leaving for Washington with the children?
He told me that he was going to try, and that's when I went to the courts for assistance and for help. When I served him the paperwork, I thought that that could stop him from leaving, but he called police officers and everything, and they told him otherwise. So instead of trying to fight him on not taking my kids, I willingly had to say goodbye to them so that I didn't, bring any past history or anything up with the domestic violence that he had before. I didn't want to cause another issue like that.
So before you filed, he had already said to you that he was going to go to Washington?
He said that he was going to try.
Okay.
Because he didn't have the funds to do it, so he was relying on his family to get him the money to do it. So I went to the court to spend my money to submit that paperwork and hopefully
all right, hold on. You did answer you answered my question. All right. So we'll move on to the next question. So you file, he gets served. The kids were with him at that time?
The kids were at my mother's because I was working. So he was with the kids at home because he was unemployed.
And then it's your understanding that then he left your mom's house with the kids?
Yes.
Did you say goodbye? Did you see the kids before he left?
Yep. So it was after work. I had came home that night and I basically just said my goodbyes because he was leaving that night. And I didn't want to try.
He told you, hold on. So he told you at that point he was going to leave with the kids?
Yes.
All right. And after he left with the kids, you indicate you've had no parenting time, correct?
No,
And how often do you speak with them by phone?
maybe once or twice a week for about 10 minutes at a time.
Okay. Your oldest is 4 years old, is that correct?
Yep, my oldest is 4, my middle child just turned 3, and my youngest just turned a year old.
Just to be clear, you were not in agreement with him moving to Washington, correct?
No, absolutely not. Not with my children.
All right. Is there other testimony, other things you would like me to know, ma'am?
Not that I could think of at this time, no.
All right. I'm gonna have to run through some questions with you then. So did the two of you reside together full-time prior to him leaving?
Yes,
So since the first child was born, you guys have lived together?
yes. We've
Okay.
been living together for over 6 years until September.
All right, let's talk about how the children were cared for when the two of you lived together. Was there one of you who primarily stayed home with the kids?
Yes. So when my oldest was born, I became a full-time stay-at-home mom. I was the full-time stay-at-home mom and their full-time caregiver since all of them were born. Dustin tried to be the working dad. His history with employment and income was very spotty. I relied on Facebook and the community to help me get what I needed for my kids to take care of them. It wasn't until earlier this year in April when we moved back with my mom that I had found employment because I knew that I couldn't rely on Dustin's income to take care of us.
Okay, what do you do for work?
At the time, I just recently quit. I worked 5 different positions at Applebee's. I was there 40 plus hours a week. Sometimes I was working 60 to 80 hours a week. I now have a new job. I'm a sales associate. It's kind of like a hybrid remote position. I work for Riverside Payments, and then I also work as a lead position for Subway here in Gaylord. So I have 2 jobs.
Okay. And what is your current housing situation?
My current housing situation, I am renting from a friend of mine. I rent out her entire basement. It's 2 bedrooms, my own bathroom, and a living room for $700 a month.
And what would be your plan as far as sleeping arrangements if you had the children at that residence?
The children would have their own bedroom. They also have their own playroom and their own bathroom. All of our utilities and food is included with the rent, aside from like me buying my own groceries if I ever wanted to. I was looking at getting state assistance through DSHS for childcare assistance. I have also been talking with NEMSCA, DSHS, the health department, everything like that to get my kids caught back up on their vaccinations and ready for school to start.
When you say the children have their own room, so the 3 of them would share a room? Is that what you're saying?
It would be me and my youngest in one room, and then my oldest and middle child in another bedroom.
Okay. And what is your future plan? Do you intend to be at that residence
No,
moving forward?
I'm using my tax refund to get my own apartment.
And do you intend to stay in the Gaylord area or move somewhere else?
I'm looking to stay in the Gaylord area if I can, because that's where my workplace is. I don't have a vehicle or a driver's license right now, so I would be walking or carpooling with friends or coworkers, whatever. My workplace is literally 4 blocks away, so I just walk. And I've got people all up and down this street that will babysit my kids, and they're all trustworthy.
Your oldest child has not started school yet, is that correct?
Nope, I received a phone call from Dustin's mother about 2 weeks ago. She was asking me for my kids' social security numbers so that she could try and get them enrolled in school. She told me Dustin hasn't put forward the effort to do it himself, so she was taking matters into her own hands.
Is your oldest kindergarten age yet or not?
He turned 4 on August 31st of this year. So he could have started Head Start because he will be 5 years old this coming summer.
Okay. And what would be your plan if the oldest child was living with you as far as education at this time?
He would be going to public schools. I would either be dropping him off and picking him up from school, or he could ride the public transportation, the school bus. I also have friends, families, daycares, everything as possibilities if I do get my kids back, that they would be able to watch my children if I do end up getting them back. I've already got everything on standby. I'm just waiting for them to come back home.
All right. So am I correct that you said you were basically the stay-at-home mother until April of this year?
Yes, I was a full-time stay-at-home mom until I gave up with Dustin and I got my own job because he went through 6 jobs within a month and he couldn't provide for us. He couldn't pay our bills.
All right. And then you indicated that at the time the two of you separated, he was not working. Is that correct?
He wasn't working, no. He wasn't working all this year and half of last year.
Okay. So during the time that you were working, was he then the one who was primarily watching the kids?
Yes, with my mother, her boyfriend, and my 2 teenage siblings that were also in the home.
All right. Do you have just a bond and a emotional ties that exist between you and the children at this time?
Well, I mean, I'm their mother, so of course there's going to be a bond there. I call them and they
Well, the two of
immediately
you, do they
surprise.
display affection? Hold on, do they display affection to you? Do they hug you? Do they come to you? What's your relationship like?
Absolutely. I mean, if I had them in person, I'm sure they would come to me. They always do. Um, they they love both of us just as much, though. I can't say that they love me more than Dustin or vice versa because we've both been there with them together, their entire lives. Um, yeah, I don't know. I know they would come to me every time I call them. They reach for the phone. My 4-year-old tells me he misses me. He asks me when I'm gonna come home. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, do you have the ability to provide the children with food and clothing and their medical care?
I do.
Do they have any sort of insurance?
Well, before Dustin took them, they were registered with Michigan State Insurance out here. Medical, dental, hearing, vision, everything. I still have all of their medical cards.
What was the housing situation for the um, two of you when you guys lived together? So you said you were at your mom's most recently. How long were you there?
Since we moved to Michigan, March of this year.
All right. And prior to that residency, where did the two of you live?
We lived out in Washington State. We were in Gold Bar, living with a friend of Dustin's until that friend kicked us out because Dustin couldn't pay the rent.
How long were you in Washington?
We have been back and forth between Michigan and Washington, at least once or twice a year for the last 6 years. We
Okay.
move out to Washington, Dustin can't provide, we move back to Michigan. Things go good, we try again out in Washington, he can't provide, we move back here.
Okay. Ma'am, do you believe you have any moral fitness issues that impact your ability to parent?
No, absolutely not.
Do you believe Mr. Campbell has any moral fitness issues that impact his ability to parent?
No,
Do you have any mental or physical health issues that impact your ability to parent?
I have mental illnesses. They do not affect my ability to parent. I have a therapist and counselors and coping skills and everything that I use to get through my day.
Do you believe Mr. Campbell has any physical or mental health issues that impact his ability to parent?
Again, I would say mental illness. I don't think he's been diagnosed, but he does have some anger issues. He does lash out a lot and he yells a lot, but it doesn't affect him from being a good dad. He loses his temper, but everybody does every now and then.
Do you believe that since you've separated that Mr. Campbell has facilitated and encouraged a close and continuing parent-child relationship between you and the children?
I mean, through messages, he says that I could call anytime, but whenever I call, I either don't get an answer or his phone's gonna die, so the phone call has to be cut short. He says he's gonna call me back, and then he never calls me back. It seems to be more excuses and lack of contact versus me actually being able to see and talk to my kids. At the beginning, when he first moved away, I couldn't talk to my kids for a while. He kept telling me that he wanted back with me and he missed me, and I wanted nothing to do with him. I just wanted my children. And he wouldn't give me that because he wanted me. And he was using my kids to keep them from me because that's all he wanted was me. And I don't want that.
Was there any domestic violence in the relationship between you and Mr. Campbell?
For a while. So there was one domestic violence charge that Dustin had actually received. But it got dropped down to disturbing the peace when I was pregnant with my middle child. Since then, it's been yelling, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, lack of support, a lot of narcissistic behaviors. It got to the point where I didn't want to be intimate with him anymore, and he would take no for an answer. He would wait for me to fall asleep and then try to penetrate me when I was sleeping. And finally I gave up, and I got worried for my life, and he knew that I had a history of sexual assault in my childhood before, and he didn't even consider my feelings. He just
Okay, so you indicate there was a time where he was ultimately convicted of disturbing the peace. Is that correct?
Yes, he was convicted for a domestic violence, and the state put a restraining order against him so that he couldn't come back home to me. But since I had medical issues and I needed assistance because I was on bed rest and still had my oldest to take care of, I tried to fight to get those charges dropped to get him to come back home to help me take care of my 1-year-old because I was in a
So
high-risk pregnancy and on bed rest, and I couldn't take care of my toddler by myself.
was there a physical assault that he committed upon you?
He grabbed me and left markings, and my mom and her boyfriend at the time, they're not together anymore, but they took pictures of my arms and the markings that I had on me. He was very drunk. He took my car. He tried taking my oldest without a car seat, and he completely demolished and destroyed my car, not even a mile down the road from where we live.
Was there ever any other incidents of physical violence against you?
When we lived out in Seattle, I called police on Dustin because I was afraid that it was going to turn into another domestic. This was about 3 years ago, and they were able to settle the situation with mediation after coming to our front doorstep. But there was no physical attack that day. It was just I called police out of fear, and I just needed help that day.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to say, ma'am?
Not at the moment, no.
All right, thank you. Mr. Campbell, you do have the right to ask this witness any questions. Do you have any questions you would like to ask her?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Carson, do you have any other witnesses that you want to present?
Not with me, no. I wasn't prepared.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Campbell, do you wish to testify?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, would you please raise your right hand? You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so this is in your chance then to provide any testimony you want to provide regarding your position on the custody and parenting time for the children.
My only main concern is, yes, I would love to have my kids, but my main concern is if she's working all these hours that she says she's working, is she really going to be there for the children? Um, I picked up a night shift job. I'm here awake all day with my kids. I go to my night shift job where I work all night as a warehouse associate for Maersk International. And then I come home and again do it all over again. You know, I sleep when they nap. My oldest, he doesn't nap, so my mother is nice enough to watch him while I sleep. Um, I just want to make sure that that the parent is in their life, whether it's me or it's her.
All right. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, Your Honor. I except to tell you I love my children. I just want what's best for them.
All right, I'm going to run through this kind of the same questions I did with Ms. Carson with you. But first I'm going to ask, so what is it that you are requesting as far as what the court orders as far as custody and parenting time?
I mean, again, I would love to do the winters out here with me and they can go to school. And then in the summer that I have no problem. I'll fly out there with them and take them to her.
So it's your request to have the children during the school year and mom to have the summers. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So I asked Ms. Campbell about her relationship with the children. What is your relationship like with the children?
Great. I come home every morning from work, and whether my oldest is up or not, if he's not awake, he hears me come in the door. He gets up, he comes running to me. He says, "Hi, Daddy. I love you. How was your day?" My middle child, he's autistic. He's doing very great with his speech and vocabulary. I work with him on it daily. He's eating all kinds of new foods that I work with on him daily. Our youngest, he's standing. He's starting to stand on his own. I feel like they're progressing greatly, and my connection with them is never been stronger.
Okay. Do you have the ability to provide the children with food, clothing, and their medical care?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is your current living situation?
We are residing with my mother in a 3-bedroom apartment. Me and the baby share a bedroom, and the 2 older boys have their own bedroom.
Okay. And what is the plan moving forward? Are you staying there for a while, or are you looking for something different?
I am saving up money to try and get an apartment closer to work.
And is it your intent then to remain in the state of Washington?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
You do not have a plan to move back to Michigan?
I really don't, Your Honor, no.
Okay. Do you have any moral fitness issues that impact your ability to parent?
No, Your Honor.
Do you believe Ms. Carson has any moral fitness issues that impact her ability to parent?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have any mental or physical health issues that impact your ability to parent?
Other than, you know, what she said, I do lash out sometimes. I've been getting help with my anger. I believe that I have come a long way on that department, Your Honor.
Do you feel she has any mental or physical health issues that impact her ability to parent?
I mean, if she says that she's getting help for her depression, then no, Your Honor, I do not.
Do you feel that you have facilitated and encouraged a close and continuing relationship between the children and Ms. Carson since you left the state?
I try to do my best, Your Honor. I told her she's more than willing to call whenever she would like. Yes, there are those times where, you know, a phone call is not feasible at the time. but I do try to make it possible when it is.
Was there any domestic violence between the two of you during your relationship?
Um, other than the 2 times that she had stated, no, Your Honor.
All right, so you acknowledge those incidences that
I
she
I
mentioned?
do I do, Your Honor.
Did she ever commit any acts of physical violence against you?
No, Your Honor.
Can you shed some light on the decision to take the kids out to Washington?
Um, so when she served me with the papers, she then she hadn't been home in like a week. Um, it was obvious that there was nothing between us. I had emotional, no support out there at all. All of my family and everything is out here. I had absolutely no support. She wanted me to remain living with her mother. And I couldn't do it. I came back to where I had support for me and my children.
Was Miss Carson in agreement with you moving to Washington?
No, she was not, Your Honor. She didn't stop me, but she did not want it.
Have you looked into any schooling options for your oldest child in Washington?
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
Is he old enough to attend any sort of preschool or any sort of school at this time?
I am looking into having a Head Start teacher come to the home.
How long have you been in Washington?
Um, since September. We got here about well, no, it would have been maybe yeah, it would have been like end of September, Your Honor. Shortly after.
When did you first start looking into some type of Head Start for your oldest?
About a month after I got here. It was right after the first hearing I started looking into it, Your Honor. When you told us that we wouldn't be doing this again until December.
And you have not started any enrollment at this time?
No, I have not yet. Again, I have to get them caught up on their vaccinations before they are allowed to attend or be part of a school.
All right, and then just to clarify that, so at this point, you're asking that the children reside with you primarily, but spend summers with mom. Is that correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And if mom had the primary custody, what do you think your parenting time should be?
I mean, I would be perfectly fine with the exact flip. You know, if she wants to keep them during the school year and I take them during the summer, it would be fine. I want time with my boys.
All right. So obviously the two of you have got some distance between the two of you. Do you feel the two of you have the ability and the financial means to fly the kids back and forth for parenting time?
I feel like if it is set to where, you know, we have those months to save for it, I don't see why either one of us can't.
All right. Anything else you'd like to say, sir?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Carson, do you have any questions for Mr. Campbell?
No.
Okay. So, ma'am, I'm going to turn back to you then. Give you a last chance to see if there's anything else you want to say.
Okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did just want to add of importance. When Dustin had stated that I wasn't home for a week before they had left the state, I just wanted to clarify, and I do have witnesses to back me up on this. Dustin had told me that he didn't want me at my mother's house because he had no other place to go. He had no support. On top of that, he also refused to help me get rides to and from work, even though the vehicle that we had belonged to both of us at the time. He refused to help me get transportation to my job. So that's the only reason why I wasn't home. But I did go back to my mother's house daily to go get clothes and see my kids and everything like that. I was staying with a friend to be closer to work here in town because I could not lose my job if I wanted to keep my kids.
And ma'am, if you had the primary custody, what do you think the parenting time should be for Mr. Campbell?
I feel like he should have, free range to see his kids. I'm not gonna keep him from seeing his kids. He could do the phone calls whenever, like I've been trying to, if he has the money to come for a visit, like what I'm doing. He's gonna have them for Christmas clearly, so I'm leaving the state tomorrow, and I'm going to see my kids for Christmas. So I mean, as long as we could keep it cordial and keep it mutual between the two of us, I don't want to make it difficult for anybody. I just
If
want
they
them
were
home.
with you during the school year, what kind of time do you think he should have in the summer?
Well, if I have them if I have them during the school year, he would have them during the summer. Would that be how
Okay.
it worked? Or
Well, I'm just asking what your thoughts are on a
oh, I have
schedule.
no idea. I've never done this before. A lot of my friends, they've done the custody thing and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've got summers and every other holiday." And I'm like, "Well, that sucks." I mean, I don't know how this goes. I really don't.
Well, there's no set way, so that's why I'm just asking what your thoughts are. Obviously, you guys have a greater distance than most parents, so every other holiday is really not an option when you got to fly three kids back and forth. Um, but you would not be opposed to him having the summertime if you had the school.
No, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
And is it your request for you to have the school year and him to have the summer?
Whichever makes it easier. I have a feeling because the school year, it's already started or about to start, and
Well, ma'am,
I don't.
he's asked for the school year and you to have the summers. You
Okay.
have the right to ask for the opposite of that, or you can agree with that. That's why I'm asking you what your preference is.
We could do the school year with him and then summers for me, as long as like he's not going to prevent me from seeing my kids in between. Like if I have the means and the money to go visit them for, spring break or something like that, I would like to go see them.
All right, so let's get this clarified because when you started, you said that you were asking for them to be with you
I am
during the
asking for
school.
with me, but as of
Okay,
right now, if things were to change, I don't have the funds to fly them out here right now. Like right this minute, if you were to say that, oh, I get them during the school year and I can have them back right now, I don't have money on me right now to go do that.
okay, but you are asking that you have the parent that you have the custody during the school. I'm not saying we got to start it tomorrow. I'm just saying that's what your
No,
request is as far as pardon.
um, I can do the summers. I can do summers with my
Ma'am,
kids.
hold on. I'm not trying to negotiate with you. I'm asking you what your position is. What do you want?
I just want my kids back. I just want to see my babies. That's all I want.
Okay. All right, Mr. Campbell, is there anything else that you would like to say?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm going to take a brief break to go through my notes as well as the best interest factors in the file. I will be back on the record in probably 5-10 minutes to put that decision on the record. So sit tight. Thank you. All right, Mr. Campbell, can you hear me okay? All right, and Ms. Carson, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So the court is back on the record in the Carson versus Campbell matter. I have had a chance to review my notes as well as the file. We're here today on a evidentiary hearing regarding custody, parenting time, and support. A custody case was filed by Ms. Carson back in September. There are no prior orders in this matter, so the court does not have to consider proper cause or change of circumstances. Court does have to consider whether or not there's an established custodial environment with either one parent, neither parent, or both parents. In this matter, the parties resided together throughout the majority of time of the children's lives. They just recently separated in September and upon separation, dad left with the children for Washington. That was not with mother's consent. Given that it's only been a short period of time that the children have been gone and with dad, it is the court's finding that there is an established custodial environment with both parents. Both parents lived together and jointly cared for the children for the majority of their life, minus the last couple of months. And then that break in time was at the decision of the defendant father when he left the state with the children. So in order to change the established custodial environment, there needs to be a showing of clear and convincing evidence. However, in this case, we know that the parties reside in two different states, so it is not possible for the parties to share equal custody given the distance and the need for the children to be in school. Court then looks at the best interest factors. The first factor being the love, affection, and emotional ties that exist between the parties involved and the children. Both parents had provided testimony that they do have a close bond with the children and do share love, affection, and emotional tie with the children. So I find this factor is equal. The next factor is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to give the children love, affection, and guidance, and to continue the education and raising of the children in their religion or creed. Again, both parties appear to have the capacity and disposition to give the children love and affection and guidance. Both parents have indicated they feel the other parent is a good parent. And so therefore, I would find this factor is equal. There's nothing showing that either party does not have that capacity or disposition to provide the children with those needs. Next factor is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to provide the child with food, clothing, and medical care. The testimony indicates that both parties have that ability and they have provided for the children during their relationship. There's testimony regarding some employment issues throughout time for Mr. Campbell, but he is currently working and has found ways to provide for children. So I would find that factor is equal. The next factor is the length of time the children have lived in a stable, satisfactory environment and the desirability of maintaining continuity. The testimony is that the parties have moved several times throughout their time together and throughout the children's lives. Mom has stayed in Gaylord, which was one of their more recent moves where they've been since March of this year. Dad has moved the children out of Michigan and to Washington. There really has not been a lengthy period of stability for the children. So I don't find that either parent outweighs the other parent in this factor. And I would find this factor is equal. Next is the permanence as a family unit of the existing or proposed custodial home or homes. Dad indicates he intends to remain in Washington for the time being to continue to live with his mother, but with a plan to get a place of his own. Mom indicates that she is also looking in the future to have a place of her own, but also intends to stay in Gaylord. It is the court's finding that this factor is equal. Next is the moral fitness of the parties involved. Both parties indicate that they do not have any moral fitness issues that impact their ability to parent. And there's not been shown any evidence that either party has a moral fitness issue that has impacted their ability to parent the children. So this factor is equal. Next is the mental and physical health of the parties involved. Both parties have acknowledged some issues, but it does not appear that any other issues actually impact their ability to parent and care for the children appropriately. So I would find that factor is equal. The next factor is the home, school, and community record of the children. The children are quite young. The oldest child has not started preschool or any sort of Head Start program yet, but is eligible and could have started that this fall. Dad indicates he is looking into that. He has been, though, in Washington for several months, and that has not started, given his failure to get the oldest child involved in some type of schooling, Head Start or preschool. I would find this factor favors the mother due to dad's failure to get that done. The next factor is the reasonable preference of the children if the court considers the children to be of sufficient age. The oldest child in this matter is 4 years old. I do not find that the children are of sufficient age to be interviewed and express a preference. The next factor is the willingness and ability of each of the parties to facilitate and encourage a close and continuing parent-child relationship between the child and the other parent. Parties have only been separated for a short period of time, but during that separation, dad has removed the children from the state. Mom has indicated that there's been some difficulties with regular phone contact, issues with call back, and making sure those are initiated. So given dad's decision to leave the state with all 3 children and without mom's consent in that move, as well as the difficulty in ongoing communication, I would find that this factor favors the mother. The last factor the court is considering is domestic violence. And that's regardless of whether or not the violence was directed against or witnessed by the children. Mom testified that there has been some physical incidences. Dad did agree that there was some physical incidences in this matter between the parties when residing together. Therefore, I would find that factor favors the mother. Given the totality of the best interest factors, it is the court's recommendation that the parties share joint legal custody, but that mom be awarded the primary physical custody of the children, and that dad be awarded parenting time. The parenting time schedule based on the length of distance between the parties would be that mom would have the primary custody during the school year. Dad would have parenting time in the summer. This parenting time would begin 1 week after the school lets out. So it would be based on the Gaylord public school system, unless the oldest child ultimately attends school somewhere else. But 1 week after the Gaylord public school system is let out for the summer, the children would then be with the dad. He would have the summer up until 1 week before school is back in session. During that summertime, mom would certainly be entitled to travel to Washington to see the children at some point if she wanted. I would grant mom the ability to do that and indicate that if she traveled to Washington, she would have the right to 5 nights of parenting time, but that she would have to give dad advance notice of at least 10 days regarding her plan to go to Washington and spend time with the children. I did want to discuss then holidays with the parties to see what their thoughts are on sending the kids back and forth during some of those school breaks. So moving forward in the future, I mean, typically I might grant the other party, every spring break type of parenting time, but I don't know if that's something that the parties want, or if they want to work out something like that, additional parenting time on their own. Mr. Campbell, so knowing that the court's recommendation is that the kids are with mom during the school year, what are your thoughts on having parenting time or the ability to have the kids come to Washington during spring break time or Christmas break time?
I'll facilitate in any way I need to make sure that I can see them, Your Honor.
All right. So now what I would indicate then is court would also recommend that dad be granted parenting time for every spring break. based on the Gaylord Public School System, as well as, well, here's the difficulties. I don't want to, I don't think mom should miss out on every Christmas with the children.
Your Honor, if I may,
Go ahead.
with this lead position that I have at Subway, I do get paid vacation time. I also get like sick days and all of this stuff that I can build up. So for those Christmases, like we could do what we're doing this year. I'm driving out to Washington to go see them, and we could do a big family Christmas out in Washington. And then since I have them during the school year, my family here in Michigan, we can do something outside of actual Christmas. So we
Right.
can
So
make
are
it
you,
work. I can
so you're
travel with
indicating, man, you would be okay that during Christmas break, the children spend that time with their father?
yeah. I can travel with them, and then I can bring them back. It's if he can't financially, like if we can't fly or anything, we would be driving. So we
Okay.
can make it work.
All right. So I'd indicate that I'd also recommend that the dad have the parenting time during the Christmas break. And sounds like the parties will work on the specifics of that together. Obviously, if you have difficulty with the specifics, you can always seek a court order to address that if the two of you can't come to agreements. So the biggest question then is the return of the children to Michigan. Mom, you said you're going out to Washington, is that correct?
I am. I'm leaving Michigan State tomorrow to drive out there. And we're gonna be staying in Washington to visit with my boys for Christmas. And then we planned on heading down to California before returning to Michigan. It's just a winter vacation that I had planned.
Okay. So you're in a position then to bring the children back to Michigan, is that correct?
I could, at this point in time on such short notice, it would be hard to get, like my childcare and stuff lined up this soon. I was thinking about that myself. Um, could we I'm trying to think.
Well, two of you are certainly free to agree how that happens.
Would
So
would
I'm just making this court's recommended order.
would it be possible for Dustin to hold, because I mean, with I don't think I could get them into Gaylord schools on such short notice right now because, the holiday season's about to happen. He's going to have them for Christmas anyways, and then spring break. Um, could we plan on me picking the children up at the end of his summer parenting time? Like I could still do my trips out there, whatever, and then I will pick them up then. That way I have, everything figured out, and you don't have to transfer them, like twice within 6 months to a year.
Certainly, the two of you are free to work that out how you want. It's going to be, I'm making the court's recommended order. How the two of you handle the transfer and when is certainly something the two of you can agree with.
Absolutely. Okay.
I will also recommend that a child support recommendation be prepared based on the court's decision. Ms. Carson, do you have any questions?
I do not. Is all of the documentation going to be provided by mail?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if I had to pick it up or not from the courthouse.
No, we will send you a copy of the court's recommended order. Mr. Campbell, what is your address, sir?
1 second. Let me go get it off a piece of paper so I give you the 98012.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions regarding the court's recommended order?
I think everything was pretty well answered. There's not a set date I have to return them to her. It's kind of us figuring it out together.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Carson, anything additional?
I'm sorry, you cut out for a second. What was that?
Anything additional, ma'am?
No, that would be it.
All right. All right. Well, thank you both for appearing today. That does conclude your matter.